again, subscribers. Thank you for tuning in. We have the pleasure of speaking to Stewart Swerdlow, and we are continuing our discussion from the first hour. And I want to begin this segment to go back and talk a little bit more about Stewart's experiences at Montauk and connect this with the question of the ET or the extraterrestrial. Stewart, when you were at Montauk, did you yourself personally ever encountered an intelligent, I guess, species, as it were, that probably wasn't around from this planet, this world?
Oh, yeah, I smile again when you say this because, my opinion, I have yet to meet an intelligent species.
Exactly,
but, yeah. Maybe some animals that I know. But yes, during the time, and I was at Montauk for 13 years, from 1970 to 1983, during that time I did meet various types of alien beings. I would say the most common one that I met was what is known as the beings from Sirius A, who were very tall, I'd say 7 to 8 feet, over 2 meters tall, and they were very white skin, very large, icy blue eyes, very pointy nose, long, skinny bodies. They are what we were told. They were the technological merchants of the universe. That they had the best technology of any species, mm-hmm. which is why the government was very much in contact, and still is, with them. There were also beings there from Antares. I saw beings from Rigelian system, Orion system. There were reptilians, yes, not too many. I did not see a lot, maybe 2 or 3 in the 13 years that mm-hmm. I was there. Mm-hmm. And there were a lot of alien beings who looked just like human beings.
Really?
You know, we were told and we learned that human beings had one common ancestry in the Lyrae star system, and of course that civilization no longer existed. It was destroyed by the reptilians, and that is when the human survivors fanned out through the galaxy and started new colonies, including one in this 2 of them in this solar system. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so basically all of these human-like aliens had a common ancestry. And then over the millions of years, they developed into other cultures and adapted to those different locations where they colonized.
So
we were told 70% of civilizations in this galaxy were of a human type, mm-hmm. 25% were reptilian, and 5% were other type.
Interesting. So did you communicate with the different species? Could you walk around and meet with them? I mean, how was this place run, so to speak? Not like a military installation then, I guess, or?
Well, it was like a military, more like a concentration camp, I should say. Mm-hmm, you know, we didn't have freedom. I was really very low on the totem pole. I was being used in experiments. I had no power at all. So I was just subjected to whatever I was told to do or given to do.
So you didn't have the opportunity to sit down and speak with one of the Syrians or whatever?
No, not like this. What we did often was to practice the use of the language of hyperspace, which was the color, tone, and archetype symbol that is generated mentally, mm-hmm. which is basically the inter-universal language. It is used by all species for communication, and we were practicing this. So yes, there were times when we were given a transmission by one of these beings to see if we could understand what was being said. And so in effect, yes, there was communication, but it was under control circumstances. It was not, at will. So
you were various assignments being given to you, and at some points you were talking with them, or they were giving you instructions because of something that was involved in the experiments themselves. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. And very often we would work with the dolphins because they were considered to be a level above humanity.
The dolphins on our planet, of course, I guess.
Yes. And we also learned that they did not come from here. The dolphin species is not from the Earth.
Well, yeah, that's a kind of a classic, I guess. I mean, that is repeated from a lot of different sources, and again, I have to actually tie this back to Star Trek. Again, it's interesting to see the correlation potentially where Gene Roddenberry might have gotten his information and so forth from, but even in the latest conception of Star Trek, the Enterprise, the new one, there is this basically same idea of that it is one species, but they are I think 4 different ones. One is a fish or dolphin type, one is reptilian, all of that. Could there be some kind of truth or communication in that series? Someone's trying to say something there? What's going on?
Well, that was a known fact back then, that all the science fiction programmings like Star Trek and movies like Star Wars, these were ways for the government to get information to the public in a way that would be acceptable. If they present it as a fiction, as a story, then the public accepts it. But in addition, it's being imprinted as a programming by watching this. Star Trek, the original Star Trek, was 40 years ago when it came out, and today it's still in existence. And there are Star Trek conventions, and it's as if it's still in production.
That's right. So, also what you're saying here then is that the government, or at least those who run the government, want to reveal this reality or this fact that you're describing here at some point in the future then?
Well, they actually already have done this. I worked in Hollywood for many years, and I was told point blank by some of these producers that they are told what to create every year and how to present it. And that's a fact. And that's why there's very, very few in Hollywood who are considered to be upper echelon or extremely elite, and they're the ones that are in very strict communication with the government. And you can see the kind of films that they produce and what the message is. And then, interestingly, you can see how real life is imitating it.
That's right.
And then you wonder which is the true and which is the fiction, and sometimes there's no difference.
Well, exactly. I mean, again, I guess that this goes right back to the idea of the mind control itself, to actually kind of skew or disrupt or whatever you want to call it, the borderline or the difference between what is reality and what is not, and what is fake and what is not. This is again with technology. This is something that potentially could be more and more difficult to determine as we progress. Just in a few years down the road, basically. That's correct. And it's interesting that if you watch the Star Trek movies about the Borg, and when the Borg attack a planet, they send a transmission that says resistance is futile, it will be assimilated. Yeah.
Well, in whenever the first Gulf War was, in the early 90s, the American helicopters dropped papers and leaflets over Iraq that said resistance is futile.
Really?
So then you say, who is copying who?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Oh my God. So, okay, you mentioned also in the first hour that in connection also, I guess, with the Roswell incident, that this is a fake UFO threat. And what I'm picking up here from you is that on some level there are very, how should I put it, hostile aliens out there, but yet they're trying to display that another race actually is the bad guy? Or what do you mean? Elaborate a little bit on that this is a fake UFO threat, or a fake alien threat, I should say.
Well, I will tell you that there are aliens. That's true. There are aliens out there. But most of what we see in the skies today on this planet come from here. And that is because the Illuminati have basically only allowed a few groups to maintain presence here, and the rest are not allowed in here. In 1973, the United States Air Force issued a manual to its pilots identifying 70 different species that they said were visiting the Earth, and all of them were to be considered hostile and to be fired upon on sight.
Really?
In the late 1990s, that number in the new pamphlet had gone to 117 species, again, all considered to be hostile. So the premise is that the government does not want any contact between the general population and the people of the Earth. And in fact, there is a rule of law in the United States on the books that says no U.S. citizen can have unsupervised contact or any contact with extraterrestrials.
Huh. Sheesh, yeah, that'll tell you something. That's right. And the question is, I mean, considered to be hostile by who? Because again, I'd brought this back to the fact that who is running the government? Is there an extraterrestrial connection here? Is someone actually involved in telling our governments on how we should run the stuff that actually comes from another planet? Is that the case here?
Well, absolutely. And the government of the Earth, and there really is just really one government, is run by a group of people who can trace their ancestry to the original Draco reptilian colonists on this planet. And so, yes, even though all human beings are hybrids of human and reptilian, the elite or the Illuminati have a much higher percentage genetically of reptilian in them. And that, in their mind, makes them superior to the rest. And they call themselves blue bloods because the reptilian blood has a higher copper content than the mammalian blood. And when copper oxidizes, it has a blue-green color. And so since ancient times, they were known as the blue bloods. And that's who's controlling the Earth now. There are 13 Illuminati families, all European-based, that control the Earth. There is a 14th family in Japan. However, they are considered inferior, and the other Illuminati are in the process of eliminating them.
Really? So
why Japan is basically under severe earthquake and volcanic threat, and which is being artificially stimulated.
Okay, that's interesting. Also, let's go back again to the 13 families. Any names you can give us here?
Well, yes. Of course, the most famous is the Rothschild. And then there's the Windsors, and there is the Bruce family, and the Sinclair, and the Carnegies. There are so many. There are the 13 families, but then there are the 300 committee of 300, which work directly beneath the 13 families. You see, right now, the leader of the Illuminati is called the Pindar, and the Pindar is right now, and for the last over 700 years, has been the Rothschild family. And the other families have had attempts at various times to take over, but they have failed. But we're seeing now the fight between the Rothschilds and the Windsors for control of the Illuminati. But now, in the last year or so, the Romanovs in Russia have now added their battle for the claim to be leader, which is why you see Putin being so arrogant and independent all of a sudden.
I thought the Romanovs basically were, killed off, all, but that's not true then?
No, there's the Romanov. In fact, it's interesting because my great uncle Yakov Sverdlov was the one who ordered the assassination.